Welcome everyone, Farmer Cop here. This is going to be a test to see if the Nexat really is all of that. So I've already done a test to prove that the Nexat does give you a 10% yield bonus when harvesting. I've noticed when using it, it doesn't seem to use as many seeds to plant crops as I would expect. So what I am curious is, does it use less seeds and fertilizer compared to a normal planter or seeder? I'm going to test both the Nexat's seeding unit and planting unit. So if we go in the Nexat, it has this guy right, oh, not that guy. This guy right here, which plants, and this guy, which seeds. I'm running just both of those. I'm not going to do them with the cultivator. They use this guy, which holds the seeds and fertilizer, but I'm going to test both of them out. I'm going to test one of the crops on here, which, I don't know, maybe I'll test, I don't know, I think corn uses a fair amount of seed. We'll try corn. Actually, sugar beets, no, I don't think sugar beets use that much seed. I don't know. I think I'll just do corn on that, and this one I think I'm just going to do wheat, and we'll try that. So we'll try wheat on this one, planting wheat, and we'll try corn on here. And then for the competitor, for seeders, I chose this guy right here because it is not a direct drill. I don't want anything to be a direct drill. Not because I think it'll matter, but just because the Nexat without the cultivator is not a direct drill, so I want it to be the same. So this guy, I will plant wheat as well, and it also uses fertilizer. So what we're going to do, looking at, I have that seeder there, this seeder here, we're going to plant wheat on this one field right here, which currently, if we look at the status of it, has nothing in it. It's cultivated and has no fertilizer. It does, I think, require lime, but I have that turned off anyways. So we're going to see, does it put down a state of fertilizer? It should. Obviously, I'm not really worried about that, but I'm just going to make sure with this. In addition, we're going to see how much fertilizer, so if I get in this guy right here, we're going to see how much fertilizer and wheat this uses to plant that field, and we're going to see how much fertilizer and wheat this guy uses to plant the field, to see if there actually is a change in that, to see if you use less seeds. Now, I'm not going to test every crop type. I'm going to assume that if there's a % bonus that it's going to apply to all the different crop types. That's typically how things like this work, just like I didn't test every single crop with the harvester. However, I am going to test, like I mentioned, the planter and seeder. So I'm going to test a seeder, and then I'm also going to test a planter. So planter I'm probably going to use is this guy right here. This is not a direct drill. This is a direct drill, so I don't want to use it, and I use liquid fertilizer. Yeah, either one of these would be fine. So I'll probably end up using this guy right here because it does fertilizer and seeds, and it's not a direct drill. So I think that'll be fine right there. But yeah, I'm just going to test it. I'll let you guys know what the results are, and we'll kind of go from there. But, oh, in addition to that, too, I want to mention, in our settings, if we go down here, I have the helper buying things turned off for everything. So they're not going to buy any of their own stuff. They're just going to rock and roll and do their thing. So, yeah. Now, to be fair, advantages as well, if you look at, like, seeders, this is another thing to consider. 7 miles an hour for a slow seeder, 9 miles there, 7 miles an hour, 11 miles an hour for a faster one. The bigger ones are all about, you know, I mean, that was 12 miles an hour. It's pretty quick. The one we're actually going to use down here is 9 miles an hour. So you're looking, you know, I think 9 to 11 miles an hour for a decent seeder there. And the Nexat itself, if we look at these modules here, well, we're 9 miles an hour here, so that's comparable, and 11 miles an hour for the planter. So the planter's pretty quick. Though if you're direct drilling, you're going to be only to be able to do 10 miles an hour with that. So that's going to restrict this one, and that one's just going to restrict that. So it's not going to matter. If we look at planters comparatively, you know, 9 miles an hour through here, that one's like 6 miles an hour, 9, 7, 11 there, that's comparable. 7 there for that guy, and 11 for that one. So maybe I'll use that one actually, because that one's a lot faster. But yeah, even though this one's wider. So yeah, just something to consider. In terms of all that, they're really not that much different. Their cost a little bit more, obviously, for the Nexat, but if you're already running the Nexat for the harvesting bonus, are you going to get other benefits too when you're doing other things? So that's kind of what we're trying to look at here. So I'm going to go ahead and test that out, get this planted. I have the game saved right now, right here, and then I will exit out, load back in, and plant with the other guy, and we'll see kind of what the difference is. Now, it doesn't matter if it overrides anything or anything like that, and I know another thing people are going to mention too is the wheels here are wider, so it kind of naturally leaves tram lines. I'm not going to leave any tram lines. I'm going to plant the entire field. So the entire field will show up planted. That's how we're going to do it. I'm going to do it by hand. If you go over an area twice, if you didn't know this, by the way, if you go over an area twice, it doesn't affect it. It doesn't put more seed and fertilizer down. So, like, let me show you that real quick, just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. If I put this down, turn it on, I'm seeding just fine. I'm using seeds and fertilizer. Now, if I lift that up, and I back up here, if I look inside here, I should be able to see, yep, it's doing that, and it's planted, perfect. If I lower this back down while it's on, oh, it is using more fertilizer. All right, well, that's kind of a problem, so I got to be careful then that I make sure I go over this very precisely. I'm going to have to load the game back in. but it doesn't use more seeds. I guess I don't use the fertilizer function too often. So, all right, we're going to be careful with that. I'm going to make sure I go up and down. I'm going to use GPS to make sure there's as little overlap as possible. However, there is going to be a little bit of overlap with the fertilizer, but in general, we should be able to see if it changes a little bit. So I'll just be very careful with it. The seeds will be pretty easy because it doesn't use more seeds when you go over it twice because it's already planted. I just wish it didn't do that with fertilizer, but I guess it does. If I remember correctly, with Farming Server 22, I don't think it did that, but I could be wrong. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and run the test, and I'll bring you guys back in afterwards. I'll do both the seeded test and the planting test, and I'll kind of let you guys know what the results are. All right, welcome back in, everyone. So I finished my testing here. You can see this is planted with some corn. Should have fertilizer on it as well. Make sure there again. Oh, I didn't put any fertilizer down. That's odd. It used fertilizer. I don't even know what happened there with that then. I did it with this seeder here. It did find the other ones. You can see it used fertilizer. It was full when I started, so we're just gonna... I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. Nothing's working the way it should, but anyhow, yes. So, and also just to demonstrate my point earlier as well, if you've already seeded over an area, it won't use any more seeds. I'm just gonna demonstrate that. It's a little bit easier now that I have this whole field here planted. It'll keep using the fertilizer. I've already written all the numbers down. So you can see the fertilizer is still going down, but the seed's not at all. Now, it didn't use very much seed anyway, so I'm going to just do a full row just to demonstrate, yeah, it's not using any seed whatsoever. So the seed numbers are pretty much as accurate as you can get. The fertilizer numbers, there's a little bit of wiggle room. So let's go over the data here for each one. Let's start with the seeded test, and then we'll kind of move on there. So when I did the seeded test, I'm going to lift this up. You can see we used nothing. So, other than some fertilizer, of course, but... Yes, so, just died because I got ran over by that planter. So the Nexat for seeding wheat used 232 liters of seed. The regular seeder used 234, so slightly more. However, 2 liters of seed, that's, you know, it's possible I missed a small area at the Nexat. Honestly, that's the most logical explanation. I don't think I did, but that's the most logical explanation. With that, I don't think that that's a huge difference. 2 liters, even on a small field like this, and I know some people say you should do it on a bigger field to get a little bit better results. That's not a bad idea. I don't disagree with those people. I think they're actually probably more right. But it's just, I don't have time to test on a massive field. I just have to make sure I can get stuff done. So anyhow, that's kind of the result there. With the fertilizer, the Nexat used 206 liters. The regular seeder used 187 liters. However, I'm not surprised that there's more of a difference there. One, fertilizers used more. Well, actually, for the wheat seeds, it didn't use that much fertilizer anyways. But I had more overlap with the Nexat that was kind of uncontrollable. So I was not surprised by that result. So I would say it's about the same. Just be watching your overlap. But we move on to the planter test now. And it's the same thing. It used 40 liters of seed each for corn. And the regular planter here, which I think had a lot less overlap, I think almost no overlap for this, on this field, it used 199 liters of fertilizer, while the Nexat used 205. So 6 liter difference, really nothing. And honestly, that's about the same as before. So no matter what crop as well, I'd also use the same amount of fertilizer, which makes sense because that's how it would be with the fertilizer spreader. So in conclusion, the Nexat is not more efficient when it comes to seeding. It might be if you consider other factors like the cost and things. If you already have the Nexat for harvesting, it might be cheaper to get a wider seeder and do this. It might be faster depending on the seeder you're looking at. Like, there's a couple other factors to consider, but in general, you're not going to save money on seeds and fertilizer over the course of your field. You actually might spend more on fertilizer if you don't avoid the overlap. So just be aware of that. And when I do run the Nexat, I do set, it does leave a wheeled area. It does leave like a, oh gosh, what is it? A tram line, basically, when you're seeding. Not when harvesting, doing other things, but when you're seeding. I avoid that by lowering the width of the automatic width that the GPS or AI worker sets it out. I lower that by 0.8 meters, and that puts it just in the middle, so everything gets planted, and it avoids that. But anyhow, that's what I got for you. Hopefully that answered a question if you had it, but yeah, that's what I got. If you guys enjoyed, drop a like down below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button up on the screen to join the Farmer Cop channel, and turn your notification bell so you don't miss any future videos I may post. This has been Farmer Cop. Thank you guys for coming and watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.